Do you ever sit quietly, your coffee in hand, and wonder something you almost feel guilty admitting? Not that you're unhappy, not even that life is bad, but something inside quietly whispers, is this it? Like you wake up, you do the same things, same routines, same places, same conversation, and life becomes predictable. Peaceful, maybe, comfortable, even. But if you're honest, sometimes a little flat. And then maybe another thought creeps in, one we don't talk about much as we get older. A question like, what happened to the excitement I used to feel about life? Hi, I'm Carol Ann, and today I want to talk about something I think many of us quietly feel, but don't always know how to explain. Boredom, restlessness, the feeling that life somehow stopped changing. Or maybe the feeling that we stopped changing. Because here's something I've been asking myself lately. What if we don't actually miss being young? What if we miss feeling alive? And before anyone misunderstands me, I'm not talking about chaos. I'm not saying we all need to sell everything and move to another country or suddenly become wild. Sometimes people think there are only two choices: safe and responsible, or reckless and exciting. But I don't think that's true. I think many of us want something quieter than that, something deeper. Maybe what we miss isn't youth. Maybe we miss possibility, freedom, curiosity, wonder, feeling excited to wake up, feeling like something meaningful might happen, feeling like life still has surprises left. Because if we're honest, many people slowly settle into survival without even realizing it. You get responsible, practical, tired, busy, then suddenly years pass. And somewhere along the way, you stop asking, what excites me? You stop asking, what makes me feel alive? And maybe the hardest one, who am I now? Because here's something I think happens quietly to many of us, especially women, especially caregivers, especially people who had to grow up fast. We slowly become what life needs us to be: responsible, dependable, strong, and practical. We become the person everyone counts on. And sometimes, without realizing it, we stop being the person we count on. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I realized something about myself. The years I felt most alive were probably from about age 14 to 18. Not because life was perfect, it wasn't, but because of a feeling I felt free, excited about life, curious, like the world was waiting for me, like anything could happen. I was one of those kids that loved to wander off alone, explore, think, and dream. If someone told me, you can't do that, I quietly think, let's see if I can find a way to do it. Without getting caught, of course. Not because I wanted trouble, but because freedom mattered to me. It always has. I was a free spirit. I wanted to live in my own little world where there was peace, love, contentment, and meaning. And I still do. And here's something I realized recently. that honestly surprised me. For years, I told myself, I hate responsibility, and in some ways, I still thought that. I hated feeling responsible for everyone, responsible for everything, responsible for keeping life together. And I still do. But then something clicked. Maybe I don't hate responsibility. Maybe I hate responsibility. That feels forced, heavy, trapping, the kind that slowly makes you disappear. Because when responsibility feels meaningful, chosen even, aligned with who I am, that feels completely different. Walking, growing, creating videos, sharing stories, helping someone because I want to. That feels meaningful. That feels alive. And here's the vulnerable truth. Somewhere after I met my husband, I slowly lost myself. Not overnight, quietly and slowly, one compromise at a time. One disappointment. Oh boy. Molly. One responsibility, one relationship after another. And after each relationship that failed, I think I lost a little more of myself. Until eventually, without even realizing it, I stopped feeling like the girl who once felt excited about life. The girl who wandered, the girl who dreamed, the girl who felt free. And maybe some of you know exactly what I mean. Maybe life happened, marriage happened, loss happened, and children, responsibilities, heartbreak, bills even, caregiving, living in survival mode, and one day you wake up and think, where did I go? But here's what I've started wondering lately. What if we're asking the wrong question? Instead of asking, how do I become someone new? Maybe the question is, how do I get to know myself again? That hit me hard when I realized it. Because maybe I'm not trying to reinvent myself. Maybe I'm trying to remember myself, to reconnect with the version of me that felt curious, that felt free, excited and hopeful, that felt alive. Not 16 again, but the spirit of that girl, the essence of her. Only wiser now, softer maybe, and stronger too. And honestly, I think this is partly why the Camino calls me so deeply. People ask me why I want to walk across Spain. Why at my age? I say, why not? Why alone? I say, why not? Why now? And I say, why not? And yes, part of me wants to prove I can do this. After fear, after doubt, after years of telling myself, maybe I couldn't. But if I'm honest, there's another reason that feels harder to explain. And maybe this sounds strange, but I feel like I'm going there to meet myself again, to get to know me again. Like I'm going on a spiritual journey, and I know that. To strip away expectations, routine, and noise. My fear, to see who I am when life becomes simple. Just me. A backpack, a road, my thoughts, possibility, maybe to remember what excitement feels like, maybe to remember freedom again, maybe to remember wonder, maybe to remember me. And maybe this matters even if you never walk a Camino, because maybe the real question for all of us is, what makes me feel alive? Not younger, alive. What lights something up inside of you? A goal, maybe. Planting a garden. Maybe traveling. Or maybe painting. Or walking. Maybe you play music. How about just learning? Helping, building something, starting over, and dreaming again, because peace matters. I love peace, but I've realized something about myself. Peace alone isn't enough, not for me. There also has to be movement, meaning, something to grow towards, something to look forward to. I need something that whispers, there's still more life here. Maybe we don't miss youth. Maybe we miss feeling free, excited, and connected to ourselves. And maybe getting older isn't about shrinking into comfort. Maybe it's about finally becoming honest enough to ask, what still makes me feel alive? Because here's what I'm learning. You are never too old to return to yourself. Not the younger version, the truer version, the one still waiting inside. So I want to ask you something. Be honest. When in life did you feel most alive? And do you think you miss being young? Or do you miss how life felt back then? Tell me in the comments. I really want to hear your story. And if this sounds like the kind of conversation you enjoy, stick with me. Because I think we're all still figuring life out. And maybe, just maybe, we're not done becoming yet.